If I asked you to name the greatest traveller in Hindu mythology, who would you choose? A sage who wandered freely between heaven, earth and the underworld. A gifted musician whose veena constantly echoed the name of Lord Vishnu. A wise messenger who advised kings, saints and even the gods. Most people know him as Narad Muni. Yet, many people remember him only as someone who created quarrels wherever he went. But was this the real Narad? Long before he became the celestial sage that we know today, Narada was born into a humble family. His mother was a simple maidservant who served wandering sages during the monsoon season. The young boy helped her in every way that he could. As the sages stayed in the ashram, they spent their days discussing profound spiritual truths. They spoke about the nature of the soul, the purpose of human life, and above all, the boundless compassion of Lord Vishnu. The little boy sat nearby, listening day after day, word after word, without realizing that these conversations were quietly transforming his heart. The sages, they shared with him the sanctified food that remained after their meal, the prasada. According to the Bhagavad Puran, this simple act purified the boy's heart and awakened within him an unshakable love for the divine. One night, everything changed. His mother stepped out as usual to milk the family cow, but she never returned. A snake hidden among the dark grass had bitten her. Instead of despairing, he accepted his mother's death with remarkable serenity. The teachings of the sages had taken root in Narada's heart. He understood that nothing in this world is permanent. With no home to hold him back and no worldly ties remaining, he quietly walked away. The young boy wandered alone through the forests, across the rivers, across hills, until one day he reached a quiet place beneath a magnificent peepal tree. There, beside a gentle stream, he sat down. He closed his eyes and began to meditate, longing to know the one whose name he had heard the sages speak of with such love. The forest grew silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. And then something extraordinary happened. Before him stood Lord Vishnu himself, radiant, resplendent, compassionate. The young seeker stayed there in silent wonder. But just as suddenly as he had appeared, Lord Vishnu vanished. The boy opened his eyes. The forest was exactly as before. The river still flowed. The leaves still danced in the breeze. But Lord Vishnu was gone. Narada's heart overflowed with longing. He wished for nothing more than to see his Lord once again. Then a gentle voice filled the forest. It was Lord Vishnu. "My child, in this lifetime you shall not see me again. This brief vision was my gift to awaken your devotion. Carry this love within your heart. And at the end of this life, you will come with me, and from then onwards, you will never be separated from me." When Narada was born, he was no longer an ordinary human being, but the celestial sage the world would come to know as Devarshi Narada. Carrying his divine veena, he wandered effortlessly through heaven, earth and realms beyond. His lips constantly repeated only one name, Narayana, Narayana. Narada's influence extended far beyond the stories told about him. Tradition remembers him not only as a great devotee, but also as one of the earliest masters of Indian music. Works such as the Naradiya Shiksha and the Sangeeta Makaranda are traditionally associated with his name. They preserve earlier ideas of swaras, ragas, and the art of sacred classical music. It is perhaps no surprise that the sage who carried a veena also became a lasting symbol of music and devotion. Wherever he travelled, he awakened devotion and transformed lives. One of the greatest examples of that transformation began deep inside a forest with a feared bandit named Ratnakar. Deep inside a forest lived a feared bandit named Ratnakar. He survived by robbing travellers who passed through the forest. Those who resisted were often killed. One day, Narada happened to pass through that very forest. Ratnakar stopped him and demanded that he hand over everything he possessed. Narada remained calm. He looked at the bandit and asked him the simple question, "Why do you commit these crimes?" Ratnakar replied without hesitation, "To provide for my family. They depend on me." Narada simply said, "Go home and ask them whether they are willing to share the consequences of your actions." Ratnakar returned home and asked each member of the family. Their replies were all the same. "It is your duty to provide for us, but your actions are your own. We cannot share the consequences of your deeds." For the first time in his life, Ratnakar realized that he alone would bear the consequences of his actions. He returned to Narada. Falling at the feet of the sage, he said, "Is there any hope for someone like me?" Narada replied, "There is always hope." He asked Ratnakar to repeat the name of Lord Ram, but Ratnakar admitted that he could not even bring himself to utter the sacred name. Narada understood. Since Ratnakar found it difficult to utter the name of Lord Ram, he simply asked him to repeat the words Mara, meaning kill. As Ratnakar comfortably repeated Mara, 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 he never realized when the sound gradually became Ram, 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 Ram. So deep was his meditation that days turned into months, months turned into years, and anthills slowly formed around his motionless body. When he finally emerged, he was no longer a feared bandit Ratnakar. He had become the sage Valmiki, the revered author of Ramayana. Narada's journey did not end there. He became a guide to countless seekers. One of them was young Prince Dhruva. Hurt by rejection and longing for his father's love, the young boy left his palace in search of God. It was Narada who guided him towards the unwavering devotion to Lord Vishnu. Dhruva's meditation became so profound that Lord Vishnu himself appeared before young Dhruva. Today, Dhruva is remembered as the Dhruva Tara, the pole star. It's a symbol of steadfast devotion. Narada also played a remarkable role in the life of Prahlad. Even before Prahlad was born, Narada taught the principles of devotion to his mother while she was expecting Prahlad. So when Prahlad was born, his devotion to Lord Vishnu remained unshaken despite every attempt by his father Hiranyakashipu to destroy it. Narada had planted a seed that grew into one of the greatest examples of faith. Although Narada guided and transformed so many lives, there was one lesson that Lord Vishnu himself wanted to teach Narada. One day Narada asked, "Lord, everyone speaks of your Maya, but what is Maya?" Lord Vishnu smiled. Instead of answering, he simply said, "Narada, I am thirsty. Would you bring me some water?" Narada immediately set off in search of water. Soon he reached a nearby village. He knocked on the door of a house. A young woman opened it. Narada asked for some water. As they spoke, he gradually forgot why he was there. Days became months, months became years. Narada married the young woman. Together they built a home, children were born. He worked hard, cared for his family, and lived an ordinary life filled with both joy and sorrow. Then one monsoon disaster struck. Relentless rain caused the nearby river to overflow. A devastating flood swept through the village. Narada desperately tried to save his family, but one by one the flood waters swept them away. Helplessly, he watched everything he loved disappear. Heartbroken, Narada cried out, "Vishnu, O Lord Vishnu!" At that very moment, he heard a familiar voice. "Narada, where is the water? I have been waiting here for a few moments." Narada looked around. The village had disappeared. The flood was gone. He was once again standing before Lord Vishnu. Only a few moments had passed. Narada bowed his head. He finally understood this was Maya. The world we experience feels completely real while we are living through it. Yet everything is only temporary. Only the divine remains eternal. From that day onwards, Narada continued his journey through the worlds, carrying his veena and joyfully chanting Narayana, Narayana, transforming lives and reminding us through his own life that beyond this ever-changing world lies an unchanging truth. How did you find today's story? Do let me know in the comments. Until next time.